The Rise of Skywalker comes out this week in just a few short days, and there's a lot of hubbub all over the internet about it. Personally, I'm not very excited about it. I'm one of those people who did not like The Last Jedi, but I did like The Force Awakens. But now I'm just in a state where I don't really care. So this video is for me to talk about it. I'm JT, and welcome to the High Ground.
I have the high ground.
Hi, I'm JT, and this is one of my first videos I've ever done on a live stream like this. I've just got a lot of thoughts about Star Wars. I'm not a uber fan, but I am a fan. I've been watching it since I was a young lad, and I am a Generation Xer, and I'm actually older than Star Wars, even if it is only by a few months. And I was excited about the new trilogy, just like a lot of other people. I genuinely liked The Force Awakens. I thought it was a good movie in the sense that it did a good job of taking everything old and making it new again, which I thought was one of the themes. And I felt like the characters in the movie were pretty good, and it did something to establish these new characters for a new trilogy. And I was genuinely excited to see what was going to happen with that. But then comes The Last Jedi. And The Last Jedi, I think, was a disaster. It took everything that J.J. Abrams had set up in The Force Awakens and threw it away, and then it stomped all over all of the old historical stuff from the old trilogy. It also didn't help that Disney decided to get rid of the EU. So they slowly started reintroducing some of that stuff, but some of those old books were fantastic. And we love some of the stuff from the old comic books and all that old source material. And not much of that is being used. I guess at one point Disney thought they might repurpose it, repackage it, rewrite it, give it to us again. And I was open to that, but I haven't seen a whole lot of that. I think the best example of them doing that is Admiral Thrawn in the Rebels series. But anyway, this video is supposed to be about the Rise of Skywalker. It's coming out this week. If you're like me, you're not excited. You saw The Last Jedi, you weren't happy with it, and now you're not sure what you're going to do. You're going to go see it and complain about it, or you're not going to go see it at all. And I'm in the camp where right now I'm not planning on going to see it. And my suggestion to other people is don't tear this movie apart. We haven't seen it. We don't know what it's going to be. Maybe you've heard the leaks, but we don't know if they're true, and I hope they're not true. So my plan is to wait and hear about the leaks and find out if they are indeed true. And then when they turn out to not be true, then I might get excited to go see this movie in the theater. But if it turns out everything we've heard so far is true, I'm probably going to stay home. Unless the overwhelming consensus from the internets, where everybody's starting to talk about the movie after they've gone to see it, and there's everybody saying, "Well, this movie really is awesome. It totally redeems The Last Jedi." If that's the chatter all over the internet, then I guess I'm going to get off my butt to go see this movie, because I really do want it to be good. I don't want this trilogy to be a waste. They've taken out a bunch of characters that we saw, robbed us of opportunities to see the original cast on screen together again. Well, a lot of those things I think can be forgiven. Like, I'm not upset that they killed Han Solo in the first movie, in The Force Awakens. I thought it made sense, and I thought it was a good death scene for him. In fact, most of the stuff in The Force Awakens I thought was pretty good. Even though they did recycle a lot of the story beats from A New Hope, it was good. I enjoyed it. I could sit down and watch that movie and be entertained. But let's go to The Last Jedi. Last Jedi was an abomination. Now, contrary to other people, some of my favorite parts are the worst parts of The Last Jedi. Like, I love Luke Skywalker's attitude when he's going around the island and he's milking the Thala siren and drinking the fresh milk. That cracks me up. I love that scene because, to me, that encompasses the entire movie and what it is. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't have happened, but there it is. So, but anyway, I like the jokes in the movie. I think they're well done, and I like the action in the movie. I think that's well done. And even some of the new characters they introduced could have been good. I don't hate Laura Dern's Admiral Holdo. I think it could have been If it had been written correctly, she could have been an awesome character, and she could have been the one to take Leia's position. And in fact, I think she should have. Leia should have died when she got blown out into space, and then Laura Dern steps in to take that role. And if a good writer could have written it so we absolutely hate her when she's introduced, and I did. I hated her the entire movie, right up to the point where she decides to sacrifice herself. And at that point, I go, oh, wow, that's actually a pretty cool thing. They're actually showing us why all the people who were her supporters supported her and gave her credit for being a great leader. But as soon as they decided to show that to us, they decided to kill her off. So while we've hated this character the entire movie, the moment she does something that we were going to like her for, they kill her. Who does that? That's just stupid. Stupid, poor writing. And I like Laura Dern as an actor. I think her character could have been a great addition to this third installment, but they just didn't use her right, and I think that's just one way that this movie let me down. So I come away from that movie hating that. And it was also an opportunity where they could have given Admiral Akbar a fantastic send-off. He should have been the one to take the helm of the frigate that ran into Snoke's destroyer. But there's a lot of little things like that in The Last Jedi that I don't like. And a lot of those, the things that were done in The Last Jedi, I think, set up the Rise of Skywalker for a lot of challenges. And a lot of those things make me not very interested in what the Rise of Skywalker is going to do. So the first thing that they've done that makes me just want to pull my hair out is they've brought back Emperor Palpatine. This isn't crazy. It's really stupid. And the only explanation I think that can justify that is Rian Johnson decided to kill the big bad guy in Snoke, and they had no choice but to revert to the Emperor. But still, this is a terrible situation. I don't think the Emperor should be in this movie at all. He had a fantastic death, a death with meaning in The Return of the Jedi. And to me, that is the end of the Skywalker saga. Like, this new trilogy is about Rey. And I'm probably going to talk about some potential spoilers here because I've read all the leaks. So if you don't want to hear about the leaks, then you probably should stop watching this video right now. But according to the leaks, Rey is supposed to be Emperor Palpatine's granddaughter, which kind of makes some sense of why he's coming back in this movie. And I don't actually mind that. I like the idea that Rey has an important lineage. But the problem I have with that is just how she's just naturally powerful. She hasn't really had to struggle with using her powers, and she just figures something out right away, and then she's good at it all of a sudden. She really is the very definition of a Mary Sue, and Mary Sues aren't exactly the kind of characters people connect with and are interested in. They're actually quite annoying when you put them in a story, and here's a story that is starring a Mary Sue. But I wanted to like her. Even after The Force Awakens, I was going to give her a chance. So I could say, okay, it makes sense. She has beginner's luck. She gets the lightsaber, and she's going up against Kylo Ren, an awesome, trained wannabe Sith Lord. But he got shot by Chewie's bowcaster, and the whole movie made a point of saying, wow, this bowcaster is really strong and powerful. So it's not absurd to think that Kylo is nerfed in that fight against Rey. And he did take out Finn, a big, strong man who has some stormtrooper training. And apparently we find out that he did, I think in the source material in the comic books, we find out that he did train with some of like the batons, like those electric batons the stormtroopers would wield. So he wasn't completely foreign to him to be able to use a lightsaber, but he still gets beat down by Kylo Ren, which makes sense. Kylo's really good at this. But Kylo is hurt. He's injured. He's probably tired from having to fight off Finn. And Rey comes in there. She is someone who has the Force just raging through her veins. And as a beginner, she gets beginner's luck going against a nerfed wannabe Sith Lord. Okay, I can buy that. So she gets away with taking down Kylo Ren in their first confrontation. That moment I think is a very powerful moment. It actually did bring a tear to my eye when she pulls the lightsaber to herself and then takes on Kylo Ren. I liked it. I thought it worked, and it set up a lot of good questions and a lot of things to be interested in the new trilogy. So then we get into that time between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, where everybody was excited. We were asking the questions: who's Rey? Who's Snoke? Uh, uh, what's the deal with the Knights of Ren? All these things that we're really interested in. None of it's addressed in The Last Jedi. So we now know from all these leaks, and I hope they're fake. I hope they're not real, but they seem to be getting more and more confirmed. We know that there's going to be a MacGuffin called the Wayfinder, and that's going to lead them to this Sith dagger. And I think we've seen the Sith dagger in the trailer, and it looks weird. And some people say it might look like a sex toy. But the Sith dagger is supposed to be something that needs to be decoded, and the only thing they can think of to do is to hook C-3PO up to the Sith dagger. But it's going to overpower him some way and wipe his memory, and that's the only way they can use C-3PO to decode this dagger, which they're going to use to find Palpatine, and that effectively is going to kill C-3PO. We also heard from their leaks that they were going to blow up the Millennium Falcon. I don't think that's going to be in there because some of the other reports were that that scene was really, really enraging test audiences. Like, people were walking out. So they said, maybe we should destroy the Millennium Falcon and all the characters on board. And then we've got some other terrible, terrible ideas. You're going to have Rey and Kylo somehow team up for some reason, because you're going to have some sort of redemption arc for Kylo, and he'll become Ben Solo again. And they're going to try to take on Palpatine together. Ben's going to get thrown down a shaft, because everybody gets thrown down a big giant shaft in Star Wars. Rey is going to take on Palpatine. Palpatine's going to kill her, but Ben Solo is going to climb out of the shaft and see her laying there dying, and then give his life force over to her to save her, which is somehow going to give her enough power to take on the Emperor and be able to strike him down all by herself. But she won't be by herself, because there's going to be a bunch of Force ghosts, and like all the different characters are going to show up and inspire her and give her the power that she needs to take on the Emperor. It sounds terrible, and maybe it'll be better when I actually see it than it sounds, but I'm not holding my breath. And I will see this movie. I said I might not see it in theaters, but I will see it eventually. And at this point, I'm not excited. And it's really going to take seeing all of the it's going to take spoilers to get me to actually go see this movie in the theater before the end of the year. But Star Wars isn't all. It's not all is lost for Star Wars. We do have The Mandalorian, and this is fantastic, because with The Mandalorian comes Baby Yoda, and I don't think anyone can say that Baby Yoda is a bad thing. And I want to show you this meme right here. It cracks me up. You've got Ben Solo saying The Mandalorian is a side story, but Baby Yoda asserting that I am Star Wars now, and this is so true. The Mandalorian is good. It's giving us what we want from Star Wars, from the property, and I think this is something that really frustrates the Disney higher ups, because they want people to focus on the trilogy, and people don't like it. But I wanted to share this because this cracked me up, and it's so true. I haven't actually watched The Mandalorian, but it's hard to avoid. Everybody's sharing spoilers, sharing all the Baby Yoda stuff. But I think this is the way for Star Wars to go in the future, where the new trilogy is probably going to be forgotten. I mean, it's from a narrative standpoint, it's worse than the prequels, and I think part of that is because they didn't actually have a story in mind that they wanted to tell. They've been shooting this from the seat of their pants. They didn't know what they wanted to do. So they made up The Force Awakens. That was mildly successful. And then they decided, okay, let's see where we're going to go with this. And then they just handed it off to Rian Johnson and let him do whatever he wanted. Huge mistake. What they should have done was sat down. They should have got a writing team before they even filmed 1 minute of The Force Awakens. Got an entire writing team, sit down and say, this is the story we're going to tell. We're going to start here at the beginning of The Force Awakens, and we're going to end over here at the at the Rise of Skywalker or whatever we're going to name it. So we're going to go A to Z, and then we're going to have this beat. We're going to have two beats for the end of Force Awakens and the beginning of the third movie, and the second movie needs to bridge that. And then we're just going to fill in the gaps later. So they got all the characters they wanted, and they knew where they wanted to take them. And then you get that story fleshed out, at least the structure of that story for the trilogy fleshed out. You know the story you want to tell. You got your characters. You know where they want to end up. And then you start filling in the gaps to make to make the three movies. But you got to stick to that skeletal structure of the story. If they do that, I think they come up with a successful movie and a successful trilogy that we don't hate. That it'll be something that gets people on board that they want to see. But anyway, we get this. And I don't know. Some of this new Star Wars stuff, it looks fantastic. Rian Johnson, I think he's a great director when it comes to filming an action scene. But he proved to me that he doesn't know anything about directing a narrative. And he made some terrible decisions in what he wanted to do with Star Wars. So I'm glad he's gone. And now you're bringing back J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams is an interesting cat. He could put out some great stuff, but he's not a closer. He doesn't know how to end things. And that's what I'm worried about here. So not only is he supposed to come up with an ending, which is his weakness as a director, but he's also got to figure out how to fix all the things that were screwed up by The Last Jedi. And I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, those leaks do not have me excited for Star Wars. I don't even see a best case scenario for this. There was one fan theory I saw that sounded awesome that I could have totally gotten behind, where they talked about Snoke being a failed cloning experiment of Palpatine. That actually is a cool idea. I'm on board with that because I still want to know what happened to Snoke, even though he got killed in the second movie. And by the way, I actually like the way he was killed. I thought it was a clever way to kill an all-knowing, all-powerful like dark force user who's supposed to be the big bad. That worked for me. Now, what followed suit in the scene after that with the big stupid lightsaber battle, just over choreographed, it was kind of cool to watch, but the whole thing looked staged and it didn't make sense. And it's really irritating to watch Rey be so good at this when we have hardly seen her learn anything about her force powers and learn anything about how to be a fighter. And it's like she should have got her butt kicked. And then I would have liked her. But anyway, so we're going into this movie, and of course Rey is going to be the hero. She's going to have this redemptive arc where she's going to resist her family lineage of being a Palpatine. She's going to overthrow him, take him down, and then at the end of the movie, I guess Kylo Ren's supposed to be dead. She's going to try to bring closure to all the other people that have been lost in this trilogy, and then she's going to claim the name Skywalker, and she is going to be the Rise of the Skywalker. I'm not feeling that. I'm not. I just think it's like, look, first of all, Skywalker isn't exactly a pristine name. It shouldn't be. I mean, the only one who's really kind of a figure you should look up to is Luke, because Anakin Skywalker, while he was a heroic fighter in the Clone Wars, he turned into Darth Vader. So right there, that besmirches the Skywalker name. And then Luke comes up. He's a nobody, a farmer from Tatooine. And okay, his claim to fame is he was the guy who made the shot on the first Death Star. I hardly think, how would people know what he did after that? So sure, he helped save Han, but maybe Han is a heroic figure. So okay, he helped take down Jabba the Hutt and he saved Han. But who knows what he did on that in the throne room when he faced Vader and took out the Emperor? Nobody was there except him. And is Luke the kind of guy who's going to go around and bragging about his feats on what he did? I mean, Lando's the one who flew inside the Death Star and shot the reactor with the Millennium Falcon, was able to fly out of there. So Lando, of course, he would be one of the big heroes from the battle for the Battle of Endor, and also the ground team led by Han Solo and Leia Organa. But so I guess Luke, if he's established the new Jedi Order, tried to train a new crop of Jedis, I guess he could get some name recognition for that as well, and becoming a legend for that. I mean, obviously he is a legend because Rey knew of what he was supposed to be, and we found that in the Force Awakens. But how much of a name does he have, or does that name really hold? Like, what kind of weight does it hold? I guess they tried to establish at the end of The Last Jedi where the kid hears about Luke Skywalker standing in front of the entire First Order. But it wasn't even him. He was force projecting himself, which is not a terrible thing in my book. I want to go back and talk about that. To me, the idea that he force projected himself across the universe or the galaxy, while I didn't really like it, it's okay that he dies, because you could say he's using the same power that a Jedi uses to be a Force ghost, but to use that power when you're alive will kill you. And I can buy that explanation. It just really stinks that he did it. I mean, we saw that he had his X-wing was there. He could have pulled that out, revitalized it, jumped in, and flown that over there and showed up in person. I think it would have been a lot more meaningful if he was there. And I am irritated that they killed him in The Last Jedi. They didn't need to kill Luke. They could have killed him in this movie. I get it. He probably should die. You want to pass the torch. That's fine. I just was not okay with him dying in the Last Jedi, and I didn't like the way he died, although the explanation for it is reasonable. Oh, now I totally threw myself off. I don't know where I was going with this. But this means we're not going to have Luke in a meaningful way in the Rise of Skywalker. That really bums me out. I would have liked to see him and Leia on screen together in a real capacity, not that force projection thing that they did in The Last Jedi. I would like to see him with the old gang. I have them all there together and give him that hero shot. And we're never going to get that. We were robbed of that as the fan base. And you can even give him that shot of the old guard with the new guard. We don't even get that. But I guess at least in this new movie, they put the main characters back together, which is a big problem with the second movie. And we're going to have less Rose Tico, which I do feel bad for that character. She had some good moments in The Last Jedi, but overall, she was poorly used. And I just really, really hated the way that they had to do this entire side mission where I look at The Last Jedi as like a submarine movie. It's this cat and mouse thing. Everybody in the movie should have been contained to the rebel ship. And then they broke that. They had a subset of their characters leave to go do a sea story. The entire Canto Bight thing is completely out of place. It doesn't work with the movie, and also it's terrible. It reeks of the worst parts of the prequels. So I'm not on board with that. I think they break the whole mood of the movie by doing that, and also they introduce new characters like DJ. I totally can't stand DJ. Nobody ever talks about him. He's awful. I wish he wasn't even part of the movie. He sucks. I hope he doesn't come back. I hope he just has that one little part. He's a traitor, screws him over, and runs away because he helps the First Order. Maybe I hope his backstory turns out the First Order killed him when he was trying to run away. That would be great. Or he died when Holdo crashed the ship into Snoke's dreadnought. But yeah, DJ sucks. I hate him. I hated him even when we thought he was a good guy. Whatever. However, I will say this. The message of the Canto Bight scene, I actually like the message. It just didn't fit in that movie. I mean, the idea that it didn't really matter if it was the First Order or the Resistance. There's a lot of people who want that conflict because they're profiting off of it. And I thought that was a really good point to make. But it wasn't the right place to make it. And this is the kind of thing that you could have had an entire story arc in a show like The Clone Wars that could talk about that and really hit that message home and focus on it. That should be the message of the content you're producing. But here they just shoehorned it in as as the C story. It's not even the B story. So I hope he doesn't show up in The Force Awakens. In the Rise of Skywalker. I hear Rose Tico is probably going to be really kept to a minimum in this movie, which is probably good. She should have died. One of those two, either Finn or Rose, should have died at the end of The Last Jedi. She robbed Finn of his hero moment, of course. Well, anyway, I it just I look at this movie, I look at all the stuff coming out about it, I look at all of the leaks. I'm just not excited. I really hope the leaks are fake or just wrong. And if they are wrong, then I can get excited about seeing this movie. All right, I ranted long enough. So if you enjoyed this rant, maybe I'm going to do some more of that. This is a new channel I'm starting. I'm not exactly sure where I want to go with it. I do know I want to talk about Star Wars and Marvel movies, and I'm a huge Marvel Comics fan. I'm a bigger Marvel fan than I am a Star Wars fan. Uh, I'd like I'd like to do more of this, but if I don't feel like I can do this kind of content every day, I might actually switch over to another subject. So it just depends on what kind of traction I'm able to get with this channel talking about pop culture stuff. So if you do enjoy this, please like, share, and subscribe. Um, I might not be as harsh on Star Wars as, say, the Phantom Menace, but I am going to be critical. I'm a very critical person. It doesn't mean I'm very critical of things I love. It doesn't mean I don't love it. I do. I'm a fan of Star Wars. I really am. All right. So thank you for watching. Have a good day.